Hello, we're going to do a tutorial about the OB-6. Somebody had asked me about doing an ambient evolving mallet-based sort of pad, and I'm going to see if I can make that happen. I've thought about this a lot, but I haven't actually made this, so we're going to do this together, and we're going to see what happens. This will hopefully help you see how I think about this stuff, because I think that might be a useful exercise for everyone to see. So, we're going to start. There's some limitations built in here. We only have really one envelope that's hardwired to amplitude and one envelope that's hardwired to filter frequency. We have one LFO that can go somewhere. We have some cross modulation, which may or may not be useful in this case, but we're going to see. So I'm going to start with the ambient evolving part. So we've started with our lovely initialized pad, so it's just a sawtooth. So the first thing I'm going to think about is volume and filter frequency. Let's start with volume though. So we're going to have a slow attack, and let's put a slower release. And maybe I don't want this to sustain at full volume, so we're going to have it down here. Okay, kind of find the sweet spot for the sustain. Then we're going to do something with the actual sound of this. So we don't really want a square or a saw. We want something in between. Okay, and we're going to want something where maybe the pulse width is changing. I'm going to see what's possible with what we have here. We have our frequency. I'm going to choose the low pass, I think. And we're going to have a long attack. And we'll have sustain not quite at the top. Okay, so this is a mount, so we're turning up, slow attacks, slow decay, sustains kind of maybe 2 o'clock, long release. Let's see what happens with resonance here. Okay, so that's like sort of a good beginning, right? And then I always think about effects from here because that's what gives it depth. So I'm going to turn on the effect. We have our Hall reverb on. I'm also going to turn on the bucket brigade delay. Let's see what it sounds like. I'm going to make this more reverberant and bigger, everything bigger. I think the Hall is the right call. Okay, so we have like sort of ambient evolving. We can do chords with it. Okay, so that kind of gives you something to think about. Now, mallet. A little bit tricky because we only have one envelope. So, I got to thinking about this, and we're going to try something, and if it doesn't work, you will have learned something, and me too. So I'm going to turn up the second oscillator. Okay, and what we're going to do is take the LFO pretty slow, and it's going to have to probably be something that bumps. So I'm going to try random. And if we can sort of like bump the delay, it should make a mallet type of feeling. Alright, so that's sort of in the right direction. We need sort of like lower filter frequency. So I'm going to turn down the sustain. And see, it's kind of not doing what I want. So that's sort of like the pitfall of this, is when you only have a few envelopes. So let's think about something else that bumps, has like a sharp edge, maybe a sawtooth. Let's see. Okay, so that's kind of starting to do something for me. Let's have it mess with the pulse width a little bit. Alright, so now we've got something sort of happening here. Going to try this. Let's have some cross modulation to the shape of 1 from or let's think about this. We're getting sort of a mallet effect here and there. Alright, so we've got something happening now. We can even have filter 1, the filter envelope sort of control pulse width modulation too, which might be interesting. Or filter mode. So I've taken the filter envelope and made it go negative. So it's negatively affecting the filter mode and the shape of oscillator 1. That's kind of giving it some more movement. I feel like the hull is not big enough. Let's turn up the reverb. So what's happening there is when you've got the amount up this high, you kind of like get into some no volume chords. And of course, you do have some control, so we could like try to split the difference here, not have so much LFO changing the volume. It's really cool. If we take the pan spread and spread them out a little more, it'll make it even bigger sounding. So take this idea and run with it. You know, you don't have to have some of this stuff. If I take the filter mode out, it'll change the sound a lot in terms of what's being cross modulated here. So try some stuff out. I actually kind of like the way this sounds without the filter mode engaged. So I'm going to keep this one, and I hope you learned something. The trick here was the mallet part, because you need sort of like, you know, a percussive type of hit, but since we only have one envelope, we kind of are using the random to simulate those bumps here and there. And then it's just finding the amount. That's this part that you have to find the sweet spot. And then you get those bumps, the bucket brigade delay picks up the bump and kind of makes it last a little longer. And, you know, obviously you can extend the time of the bucket brigade delay so that, you know, it bumps and then it bumps a lot later. So enjoy. I hope you learned something.